the Chinese. We had all Chinese, and the Army had the North Koreans at that time. So we could see the lights of Quezon because it wasn't that far away. But the Imachon Valley came in, where Genghis Khan came in and conquered that area many thousand, hundreds of years previous to that time.
So how long were you there?
I was there a year until the war was over. Actually, we helped. They sent me after 8 months on the main line of resistance. They sent me out to train Korean Marines on an island in North Korea called Shodo Island. It was everything with dough on it was an island, and we had maybe 15, 20 Marines on there, and we didn't do that much training. We were supposed to train the Korean Marines. But we pulled guard duty, and we had a Navy barge that went out to the ships. The captain, he was a major. That was the Marine Corps head there, and he didn't come out much. The lieutenant did most of the work. Because the captain or the major had a alcohol problem, and I think they sent him there mainly to try to sober up, but it didn't work out that way.
Well, when you were up there along the North Korean shore, did you run into any smoke jumpers?
No, I didn't. To my knowledge, I don't ever remember any smoke jumper in any of the units I was in.
What about, though, like involved with training, jumping behind enemy lines or working for the CIA or anything like that? Did you run into any of those guys?
Well, we ran into some, yeah, but I can't remember. Our job on that island was also to pick up flyers that were shot down by the North Korean or the Russian MiGs. Would knock down one of our planes, and they'd parachute out, and they'd wash in, and we'd pick them up on the beach there. And so that was part of the...
But you didn't run into any people who had actually been smoke jumpers already, working on the other side of the lines in Korea?
I had no contact with smoke jumpers until I got out here to Montana.
Well, before we talk about that, any experiences stand out from that time in the Marine Corps? I mean, was that your last year when you were in combat? Was that your last year in the Marine Corps?
It was,
Well, anything stand out? Was it a good choice that you made to go there?
Well, we were hit pretty hard. Once they put me on the main line, they put me on an outpost off of the main line, so we were sticking out there in the valley in North Korea. And before we got out on that outpost, all of the Marines were killed, because whenever they attacked, they hit the outpost first and then moved right up along the ridge to the main line. And so we were hit. It was called the Hook, where we were stationed, when we were hit the next day, once they took over the outpost, they threw in something like 35,000 rounds in one day at us. And most of the guys in the trench line ahead of me were all killed. And from myself to the rear, very few guys were wounded compared to the main line up there. But that's what stood out fast, because I was only there a couple weeks when they hit us, and of course they usually put the young fresh guys right up front there, and so we saw a lot of action in a day and a half, really. But the Navy planes, the Navy flyers and the Marine flyers saved us one day, because there was 2,000 Chinese coming up the hill at us, and they were firing their burp guns at the time, and the artillery was coming in, so it was kind of devastating, but the napalm, they dropped napalm on the hill, and the hill was steep when they were coming up, and that napalm just wiped them out. Thousands of them, just in no time, and so we were blessed on that one. And that was one of the worst that I was at. I was on Bunker Hill as well.
What happened there?
Well, it was, Bunker Hill was about 16 feet lower than the original mountain was. And we were on an outpost called Heidi. And they were always shooting at us and trying to get us out. And of course, we were going out on patrols at night too. We got hit with patrols, and the lieutenant, some flak hit his eye and blinded him on the left eye, I think, and then the sergeant got his ear blown off, and a few other guys got some shrapnel. There was only a squad of us, out there. But we got through that, and well, there was other things. A sniper almost got me. All the guys thought I hit me, because as soon as he fired, I dropped to my knees and rolled, and but they didn't get me. So
I'm glad you're here.
yeah, it was close, but and there were other incidents all the
sure,
time, but
sure.
Those are standout areas in my life.
Well, did you, so where did you terminate your service? Where did you end your military service? What town?
Well, as soon as we got back, we had to come back. They flew us back. We a Navy plane, and went from Japan actually, and from there I was shipped to Great Lakes Naval Training Station the last few weeks in service there, and that was my checkout place there.
So that was 1953?
1954.
54?
Well, it was 53 when I got back. It was the fall of 53. The war was over, and they had moved us all out of there. It was amazing how fast the exodus came, you know. It was amazing.
So you get out in 54, then what happened? Did you go right to Montana?
I headed home.
You headed home?
Yeah. And I got a job with the county surveyor in Elgin there. And so I got some leveling experience and, you know, some big shooting lines and so on. Mostly just in the county itself, and property lines and so on. So it was a good job, but I knew I was coming out here, and that was in the winter time when I was doing that, and I told the boss of the city and county surveyor, he was the head man, that I was headed west to get a job with the Forest Service. I didn't write him or anything. Nobody knew I was coming. And he blew his stack because he had just trained me. And he was an older man, but he just threw everything out and just went bananas. And his secretary was shocked and the whole works. And I said, sorry, but I'm going. And I gave him a 2-week notice, but anyway, that was it with that business, and I started loading up my car, and my dad, I bought a fly rod from him when I was over in Japan, because he was a fisherman, and he taught me how to fish, and he gave me the fly rod back. He says, you'll be using it a lot more than I will.
That's nice.
So you take it with you. So I went down and bought a 30-30, threw them in the trunk along with a suitcase and a fly rod, and headed west.
Yeah. So where'd you first start?
Well, I thought the only base was in Missoula. That's the only thing I knew, so that's where I came.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to come to Montana anyway because I saw pictures of it, and I thought this is where I want to be. And so I headed out. Well, before I should back up a little bit. My buddy got out of the Marine Corps just a little after I did, and he wanted to go up to northern Wisconsin, and we look at resorts to buy. And we were gonna run resorts, and I said, oh, Ken, I'm about ready to head west. He said, no, his name was Ken too, but he was a Swede. Ken Johnson was his name. But anyway, he convinced me we should go up there and look at resorts. So we looked at one, and we saw one, an island about 32 acres with 10 cabins on it and a lodge. And in those days, there wasn't that much business up there, and kind of a, recession time up there. But they had, the price was at something like $40,000. Well, we got them down to $23,000 for this 32-acre island out in Squirrel Lake up near Monaco, Wisconsin. And we headed home. We were going to try and figure out how we're going to get the money, because that was a lot of money to us. And it, $23,000 in those days was quite a bit.
Yeah.
But I got to thinking, what are we going to do? It's a seasonal job, 3 or 4 months up there, and then what are we going to do? And what was I going to do? And I thought to myself, this is not, and I told my buddy, I said, and I can't, I've got to get this out of my mind. I've got to go west and get this smoke jumping